Hi everyone, Budget Stark here. Thanks again for tuning in. In this video, we are checking out Whiplash MK2 Diecast from Iron Man 2. A lot of collectors have been waiting for this particular figure. It's finally been released today on May the 1st, 2015. So US collectors will pick it up probably in about 4 to 8 weeks or so, and then a couple of months after that for the rest of the world. This video is going to be a first look video, and I'll touch on a few points. It won't be a full review because I think most of you guys know I don't do reviews. So if you are looking at full reviews, the usual boys will be doing that, I'm sure. And I think Xenomorph will be picking up this figure very shortly as well. So I'll put a link in the description below to check out that full review. In this video, we'll be talking about the weight difference between this and other Iron Man figures, the height difference and bulk difference, and checking out the front and back of this figure, and point out, towards the end of the video, I'll point out the things you need to watch out for, because I've experienced it already, and I've been warned by Secret Base Hot Toys at some particular parts that if you're not careful, you may damage. So I want to share that information with you guys as well. Because this is a completely new type of figure, you should always read the instructions manual. It won't be new, all of this will be new, you won't know any of this new information, articulation, etc. So make sure you read that. Just some background information, the box itself is the biggest diecast box. It's bigger than the Mark 42 and even thicker than the Mark 43, which came out very recently. So it's the thickest box so far, and it's the heaviest as well, and I'll go through that in a moment. So what I've got on here at the moment on display is that most of the stuff that you get, apart from the stand, you get a new diorama base, you get the whips, the sort of flame electrical effects, you get the battle damage chest plate, the normal chest plate, the head sculpt, obviously the figure itself. So I'll go through the details of that later on, but let's check out how this compares weight wise compared to other figures, because that's one thing that I hear a lot of people have been asking. It's a diecast figure, it's bigger, surely it should be heavier. So let's check that out. Okay guys, we are going to do a quick weight comparison. I'm just going to put on here a standard basic figure. This is the Tony Stark Arc Creation figure. I think you can see at the bottom it's 303 grams, so it's a pretty light figure. So the next one we're going to put on is the Mark 6. It's got a little bit of battle damage, but it's standard. Other than that, nothing fancy about it at all. So we put that on. The weight of it is about 332 grams, something like that. So only about 20 odd grams more, 30 odd grams more. The next one is the first diecast figure which we're going to put on, which is the Mark 42, the weight of which is identical to the Mark 43. The weight of that is 845, significantly more, 500 grams more than the Mark 6, so about 2.5 times the weight of a plastic figure. So now let's look at the weight of the Whiplash diecast. So we take the stand off, we don't need this. We're going to tear that so the weight goes back to 0. So it's just the weight of the platform, and we put this hunk of a beast on here. You can see it's 1,191 grams, so about almost 1.2 kilograms, about 300 grams more than the diecast figures. So if you're not sure why it costs a little bit more than the normal Mark 42 or the Mark 43 or the War Machine, Iron Patriot, etc., I think you can find out that it's because of the weight, the extra metal that's been used, and you can feel this. It's a very sturdy figure. So let's look at the bulk and the height comparison now. Let's check out the height difference between a standard figure, an Iron Man figure, and this Whiplash 2.0. The first thing that you can see is that it's only a little bit taller than the Mark 6, which the Mark 6 is a little bit taller than a normal Tony Stark figure. That makes sense because obviously he's got to fit inside the armor. You have a little bit more height because of the armor on the boots and the mechanical parts there. So it would therefore make sense that because Ivan Vanko is essentially in a suit, an exosuit himself, and not in a large robot like the Ironmonger, that would kind of make sense that he's larger only marginally than the Mark 6. A lot of collectors, and I myself actually, when I first saw this, I thought, hang on a minute, I swear he seemed a lot larger in Iron Man 2. So I re-watched that scene, and I paid a little bit more attention to his size when they're having the fight scene with the Mark 6 and the War Machine. And you know what? He actually is only a little bit, about a foot or so taller than the Mark 6. Generally, Hot Toys don't get their scaling wrong. They're very good with their scaling. They get the blueprints from Marvel, get the info, they get the footage, etc. So I don't expect them to get the footage wrong. I don't expect them to get the scaling wrong. So therefore, I think in terms of scale, I think this is probably about right. Let's look at the breadth and the depth of the armor now. From the side view, I think it's pretty obvious that you can see how much chunkier and beefier the Whiplash figure is in comparison to something like the Mark 6, and the smallest obviously being the Tony Stark figure. For those collectors who have seen pictures on Facebook or in the forums and feel that the Whiplash figure is a little bit thin or proportions aren't right, the camera angle plays a huge part. So that's why hopefully when you see my video, when I do the front and back look, you can gauge for yourself what you feel about this particular figure. I will be doing a pose video in a separate video to show you how I will be probably posing this in a battle scene between the battle damaged Mark 6 and a battle damaged War Machine that I have. So look out for that a little bit later on, but now let's check out the details on the front and the back of this Whiplash. Now let's check out this figure in a lot more detail. Going to go from the front, look at the back, and point out some bits that you need to be aware of. The first thing is that the arc reactor is very bright. The chest armor is magnetized, so nice touch there, very easy to put on and off. Really nice light up feature, hopefully this will show up on camera, is that this collar section lights up on this side and on this side, which is movie accurate, just on the side of the collar there. Obviously the eyes light up. The scuffing and the battle damage, very rugged, nicely mechanically done. The working pistons on the legs, the ankle, the feet. These flaps, be careful if you're rotating or moving them, you don't want to catch them on anything. The pistons on the arms as well, here, in this section here, be careful of those as well. A little bit delicate. And the flaps, the ankle, sorry, I think they're called the foot anchors. They're articulated. Quite nice sturdy design, I would say. You've got a nice bit of articulation. You can pose them up how you want. If you want them flat, like in the film, or if they're half opening, something like that. So you've got lots of options there. So we're going to put this round the back, and show you a couple of things as well. I think the back of this figure is probably the nicest part of this. The reason being the detail is so meticulous. It's just unbelievably impressive. Now I'm going to turn out the light here because I wasn't aware of this when I ordered the figure. This actually lights up. This is the sort of rear backpack when he's flying, and that actually lights up. Really nice touch there. Let me switch the lighting back on. Now, Secret Base did warn me about a couple of things, which I'm not sure if Sideshow will. They're in the instructions, but not everyone may read the instructions. So, this part here, the rear of the ankle, are moving pistons, so be careful not to overexert because you may snap them. Moving up, there are some sharp parts here because it's die cast. Please be careful not to cut yourself. This bit, I hope, is not going to be a major problem. The whips. The reason being is that when you bend the arm like this, the whip extends as well. I think you can see it's designed so that it will be touching the arm section there. This arm section, it will be touching. Secret Base said be wary of it. Don't extend or pull this manually this way. Be very careful not to pull it there. Also, when you rotate the arm sideways, I've bent the arm now into a certain pose that I think you can see if you leave it an extended period of time, the whip here would be almost cutting into the elbow portion. Secret Base did warn me to say don't leave it extended for too long in that position, as it could break if you leave it there for a very long period of time, which is understandable. You're putting pressure against something which is rubber. Then also, so I'll get in here, they have these little guides that the whip runs down from here through this hole. The way that I've angled the arm is catching right on the corner. I think ideally it's meant to be in the center, more like this. So you're not putting pressure against the side of this rubber. So just something for you guys to be aware of. If you're planning on posing it, please don't pose it so that you put too much pressure or excessive force on the rubber, because it may well damage it. I can completely understand why it happens. You've got so much articulation that it's plausible that over time it will break. So please be aware of that. But other than that, really nice sturdy figure, great looking piece. Looking forward to posing this bad boy up. Final last look. Just want to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little first look video. And we'll catch you all at the next video.